Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, Mr. Smith Kitchen, as always. Excuse me. And today, thought we'd do some bake. As I just had no clue what we were gonna make. And then I ran across this absolutely just delicious sounding recipe, and it's cupcakes. But these are cinnamon roll cupcakes, and I don't think you can go wrong with that. That sounds amazing. Yeah, and the recipe looks really, really good. The end result makes it looks really. It's an amazing recipe. And I can't wait to try it. And I thought, well, you know, hey, let me get some friends together and we'll make these cupcakes, right? Because that's what we do. So, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If this is your first video, hope you get something out of this video. Check out some of my other videos. Consider subscribing. Speaking of subscribing, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to like, share, thumbs up, thumbs down. That notification bell, don't forget it. That lets you know when my videos come out, and you can you know, at least watch them at your own leisure, but you'll know they're there. Try to put them out every Wednesday and Thursday. But if you're returning to my channel, thank you. If you're a new subscriber, thank you. All the same. So we're gonna get down to the counter and start doing some baking. Now I will give you all your measurements in cups, tablespoons, teaspoons, but I'll also give them to you in grams. That way everybody can play along, right? Plus, I prefer grams. You get more consistency. You know, a cup can be off by a little bit, and a little bit can make a big difference. So I always use a scale, and I measure in grams. That way I'm consistent. So that being said, anyhow, down to the counter, let's start baking some of these cinnamon roll cupcakes. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, we're down here at the counter. So, in order to make this, you will need a few things. Not many, really. You'll need at least a small mixing bowl, a medium mixing bowl, and if you don't have a stand mixer and you're using a hand mixer, a large bowl. Those are a must. You'll need some a whisk, you know, your usual suspects, a whisk, a spatula, things of that nature. So, the first thing we need to do is, hold on for me 1 second. It just hit me, I didn't have any whisks out. Is mix some things together. So, well, and you also need a recipe, hands down. Those are always helpful. But, first step in this, turn your oven on 350 degrees, get that bad boy preheating. I have got, in my medium-sized bowl, I've got 2.5 cups of flour, and to that, I'm going to add 2.5 teaspoons, 10 grams of baking powder, which I have in here, along with a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of kosher salt, which I also have in here. I'm trying to cut back on dishes. So we'll go ahead and throw that in there. And we're gonna give that a good whisk. Or we're just gonna whisk it together. That way we know it's, you know, not just sitting right on top of each other. And it gets evenly dispersed. And then we'll set that to the side. Next thing we're gonna do in our small bowl, and I got a little overzealous on this, is I have got 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, packed brown sugar, which is 165 grams, and already in there, because like I said, I got overzealous and started putting things in, is some crushed pecans. It's 1/3 of a cup, or actually I finely chopped, mine are finely chopped to crushed, pecans at 1/3 of a cup, 40 grams. And the one thing we're gonna add to this is some cinnamon. And we're going to put in 2 teaspoons or about 3 grams. Cinnamon's so light it's hard to get her, you know, accurate on the grams, but it's right around 3 grams, 2 to 3 together, and we're just going to mix this up real good. Okay, we got our brown sugar, cinnamon, and pecans together. We're going to set that to the side. So now we're going to get to our stand mixer or your hand mixer in your large bowl, either one. I'm going to use a paddle attachment for this. It didn't say in the recipe, but I thought paddle attachment sounds about right. So first thing I'm going to do is I got 2/3 a cup of unsalted butter, which is 152 grams. I'm going to put this in here. We're going to let this cream for about 30 seconds on medium, which if you're using your hand mixer, it'd be about 4. You know, you could even go, I've got mine where it'll go in between them, so I can go 5. And we're gonna let that run for about about 30 seconds or about 10 more seconds. And then to this, I have got 1 3/4 cup, 350 grams of just regular plain old granulated white sugar. And we're gonna put this in 1/4 cup at a time after we let that cream for about 30 seconds. Now your butter should be softened, not room temperature. Softened means you let it sit out for about a half hour, 45 minutes. So it's still got some firmness to it. It's not just gonna fall apart. But we're gonna go ahead and get this sugar in here just a little bit at a time. And then once we get all the sugar in there on medium speed, we're gonna let this run again for another 2 or 3 minutes until it gets light and fluffy. All right, we are looking light and fluffy. Now I did stop and scrape about halfway through all that. You know, that way I can ensure it was all getting mixed in good. So, and if you're wondering if you haven't figured out what light and fluffy is yet, because it took me a while to figure that out, and you're fairly new to baking, you'll hear a lot of people say light and fluffy, light and fluffy. Well, there's no such thing as light, like whipped cream light, but that is what you're looking for right there. It's kind of mashed potato consistency. So if it looks like nice creamy mashed potatoes, you have done your job. So we got our bowl scraped, got our paddle attachment back on there. And the next thing we're gonna add to this, we're gonna turn our mixer back on low, all right? And we are gonna add 2 large eggs, 100 grams worth, 50 grams each. And we're gonna do it one at a time, and you're gonna do it till it's completely incorporated. So incorporated, then I'll add the second one. All right, we are incorporated. Do another scrape. Scraping you can never do enough of, especially when baking. In general, if you're using a mixer, you should be scraping, even a hand mixer. I was like, I wish you could see down in here. Someday I'll get that glass bowl again and see. But I mean, there was white streaks everywhere, and it should be nice and evenly yellow. Believe it, mostly because of the egg yolk. So we got that in good shape. So the next thing we're going to do is throw in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla and get that incorporated. All right, we got our vanilla incorporated. So now comes the, we're down to the final stretch. So we're going to add our flour, baking powder, and salt in three parts. And I'm going to, in between each part, add some milk. I've got 1 1/4 cup of milk, which is 285 milliliters of milk, and we're going to put that in between. So we'll put 1/3 of this in, half the milk, 1/3, half the milk, and 1/3. Right? So go ahead and get that first third in there. Get that mixed. Then, like I said, we'll add half our milk, then 1/3, half, and then the rest of our milk, and 1/3. All right, we got our last bit of flour in there. So we did our flour, milk, flour, milk, flour. And the whole time I left it running on about 2 to 3, or 2 to 4 on the mixer. Just, no higher than 4. And I mean, we want some air in it. They're cupcakes, they're cake, but you don't need a ton of air in it. And I'm here to tell you, this batter is just nice and fluffy. So that's really it for the batter. All we got left to do now is give it a quick scrape. Make sure we got everything good to go. And then I'm gonna get this all cleaned up real quick, and we can start putting them in our cupcakes. Okay, so got everything a little more organized here and ready for production. So here's how we're going to make these. I'm going to turn my scale on. I'm actually going to use my scale, but you can eyeball this. So we're going to put about a tablespoon's worth of batter, and I got to kind of set this. I want to make sure they're even, so I'm going to put, because normally when I make cupcakes I go about 55 grams worth of batter, but we're adding something extra to this. So I got it about a tablespoon's worth of batter in there, right? And then I'm going to take about a teaspoon worth of our pecan brown sugar and cinnamon and put it in there. There we go. And then I am going to finish filling this up to about the 2¾ mark with more batter, which is about another tablespoon's worth, I'm gonna guess. Just like that. Yeah. And then I'll move on to the next one. So, like I said, if you don't want to be that precise, you don't have to be. So, like I said, tablespoons worth of batter. That's scooped in there. That might be a heavy tablespoon, truth be told. And then we'll do about a teaspoon's worth of the mix. And then about another tablespoon's worth of batter on top. You know, until it's about 2/3, 3/4 full. You go much higher than that, they spill over on your pan. Well, they can, and you don't want that. And then after we get that done, we'll put it back in the pan, right? Or like if you're just doing this, you don't even have to take it out of the pan. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these other ones done. So that way you don't have to sit here and watch me do 22 more. And when I come back, we'll move on to the next step before we put them in the oven. All right, hold on for me 1 second. All right, after a lifetime of filling cupcake thingies, we're done. So the recipe said it would get 26. But it did not give you like gram measurements for anything to put in them. I got 23, and I think next time I'll just back off. I have 55 grams total of stuff in the cupcake cups. I've got 25 of the icing, 5 of the cinnamon and brown sugar, and then another 25 of the icing, which gives me 55, and that's what I usually make my cupcakes at. It left me 1 short, so next time maybe 50 to 52 grams. I'll take away a gram from the bottom and the top, and that should give me enough that I can get my 24th cupcake in at any rate. So anyhow, last thing we need to do before we put them in the oven is just take some of our brown sugar mix and just sprinkle it on the top of each cupcake. And then all we got left to do is put them in the oven and bake them. Let them cool, make some icing. You know, it's a process. These are not a quick, easy cupcakes, so to speak, but I think they're going to be worth the work. All right, we got those sprinkled, so now all we have to do is get them in the oven. So we're going to put them in the oven at 350 degrees, which we got set. We're going to bake them for about 18 to 20 minutes. Just start checking them, because depending on your oven, you may run a little hot, a little cold. Start checking them at about 17 minutes. I've had some cupcakes be done as early as 16 minutes. I've had cupcakes take 22. So I'm going to check these at 17 minutes. I'm just going to do a toothpick test like we would any other cake. I'll go to the 2 center cupcakes in the pan, and I'll put a toothpick in the center of them. They should come out clean, no batter on them. It's okay to have a little bit of crumb. That's actually good. If you got a little bit of crumb, no batter, take them out. That means they're done. So I'll get these in the oven. When I come back, we'll take a look at them and talk about what to do next. All right, I'll be right back. All right, let's pull these bad boys out of the oven and give them a toothpick test and see where we're at. I know they smell amazing. And we'll stick the toothpick in, comes out crumbs, no batter. Excellent. See? Crumbs, no batter. That's what we want. Pull out the other ones. Give them a test at the middle. Crumb, no batter. Crumb, no batter. See? Crumb, no batter. That's what we want. So, what do we do now? Well, first we just turn the oven off. Oven's off. We're just gonna let those sit. We're gonna let them sit for 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna get the muffins out, or cupcakes out of there after 10 minutes, and then we're just gonna let them cool down to room temperature. So when we come back, these will be cooled down to room temperature. We can make the icing that goes on them real quick and try one. All right, I'll be back in just 1 second. All right, so our cupcakes have cooled. I got all the stuff out for us to make the icing with. It's a really fairly easy icing to make. So let's go ahead and get down to the counter so we don't take any more time up than we already have. And we'll start making some icing. All right, hold on for me a second. Okay, we're back down to the counter, and first thing we're gonna need is 1 cup or 2 sticks or 228 grams of butter, and you want it to soften. Get it out of the fridge, leave it out for about 30-45 minutes. And I should probably plug the mixer back in because that's what we do. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cream this butter, but just for 30 seconds is what it said on the recipe. And I'm using their recipe instead of mine because it's a little different, and I don't need that much butter icing. So 30 seconds. All right, we've hit our 30-second mark. So we'll go ahead and turn that off right quick. Grab our spatula, get this all scraped out. Maybe. Ugh. This is supposed to be a creamy butter frosting. Although I've never had a non-creamy one, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. Get that all kind of scraped out to be there. I mean, we don't have to, we're just getting it off the sides. It's not like we're trying to mix anything. It's literally just the butter so far. All right, got that going. Whoop. Don't want to take that off. Set that down. Butter off my hand. To this, we are going to add 1 liberal teaspoon, 4 or 5 grams of vanilla extract, and it calls for a pinch of salt. I'm gonna say about an eighth to about a quarter teaspoon of salt in there. So we got our pinch of salt in there, and then we're gonna combine this for a couple seconds. Ooh. Take this down to stirring speed, and I have got 8 cups, 1,000 grams of powdered sugar right here. And I'm going to add the first 4 cups in, about half your powdered sugar in, and I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time, just like we were making royal icing for the cookies that we made a while back, the iced cookies. We'll add these in a little bit at a time till we get all 4 cups in there, and then we can put the next ingredient in, which oddly enough is a powdered sugar. Okay, so we got our 4 cups in. I'm gonna give this another good scrape. Now I scraped it down after the first 2 cups, just to make sure we got everything going where it should be. And get this scraped down. It's like some of the thickest icing ever. Really? Which is okay. 4 cups in, scraped around. Get the spatula out of there. Now we're going to add a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, which is about 55 milliliters, 55 grams. And we're gonna, and that's gonna help loosen that up a little bit. And then once we get that incorporated in there, we're going to add the remaining amount of our powdered sugar and then 2 more tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Okay, so we got our icing made, and I ended up adding another tablespoon of milk after I got my remaining 4 cups in, and it was just a little too thick with the 2. But that's what you're looking for, and then you're just going to simply mix it on medium high until you get it light and fluffy, right? So we did 2 sticks of butter, 228 grams. We did 4 cups of flour at 500 grams, and then we added a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. which was 55-ish grams. That one's a tough one because or milliliters. Then added 4 more cups of sugar and 3 tablespoons of heavy cream, and then we whipped it on, or beat it on medium high until it became light and fluffy. This is as thick as I would ever want to go. You could make flowers with this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting it in with a cup. I have a cup. I don't know if you can see that. And my pastry bag, because it is so thick that I don't think I can hold on to this and hold on to just the bag and get this in here properly. And I'm not going to put a whole lot in the beginning, just because I don't think I need a whole lot. I made her full recipe, which does 26 cupcakes, and as you can see, I don't even have the 22 left that I started with. The house smelled so good that everybody wanted to try one, so we each tried one. Truth be told, I had 2, and I have come to the conclusion that you don't even need to ice these, and they would be just fine. There's actually an alternative topping for this to make this like honey bun style cupcake, which sounded just incredible, and I may have to try it. So we're gonna work our icing down. Now, with this being thick enough that we could actually do flowers with it, or some decorating with it. Let me get you a little closer here to what's going on. There we are. You could do several things with this. And if it's too thick, I'll just simply get the mixer back out. And I've got a star tip on here, but you're just gonna take it around, maybe. There we go. Now we're cooking with oil. Just like such. And put that on the top. We're not going to coat the whole thing with it. If you didn't want to do that, I mean, you could literally, use a flower tip. Like I said, I'm just using a star tip. And we could put, you could put flowers on these. We could do stars like such. I mean, not that that's absolutely gorgeous, but it doesn't look shabby. But you can have fun with them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these done. When we come back, we'll try one. All right, I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, so I got them all iced. Here is our end result, if it'll focus in on them. And they look fantastic. And I'm here to tell you, the cupcake itself, just because I may have accidentally dropped one into my mouth yesterday, are pretty good. But, the telltale is going to be the icing. Now, I will say off the rip, I think that icing's way too thick for piping. So instead of putting 2 tablespoons, if you're going to use this recipe, instead of putting 2 tablespoons of heavy cream in it at the end to mix until fluffy, I would try a minimum of 4. I mean, that was 3 and it was still way too thick. So I would go with 4 and just keep going until you feel that you can pipe it through, right? If you have to, put a little in the piping bag and try it out. If it doesn't work, because you can just squirt it right back into the mixer, and add a little more. That's how I learned how to make icing. Once I got it mixed, I put a little bit in the piping bag, just enough to fill, I don't know, 2-3 inches, and squirted it through. And if it worked well and it held in the bowl, rock on. This, I mean, my hands hurt. Now, granted, I've got arthritis, my hands are beat up, but it shouldn't hurt. You want to make it comfortable. And I have been able to do this with better icing. So I'm actually going to use, I think for now on, when I make cupcakes, the recipe that I used for the Mardi Gras cupcakes that we did together. I think that's a much easier icing to work with, and it's still, you can still even make flowers with it. That's the important thing. Maybe one day we'll go over how to make flowers and what I do to make them. But anyhow, point being, we're going to try this cupcake with the icing on it now. So let me get the wrapper off of it so we can kind of see what we're looking at here. Like I said, the ones we accidentally dropped into our mouths earlier were amazing, and I couldn't go wrong. There we are without the wrapper on it, you know, and it held together nicely. Very little crumb left on the wrapper. That's important. Now, if you do have a problem with cupcakes sticking to your wrapper like that, you can spray them down with a cooking spray. I do it all the time, especially when I'm making them for other people. That way, it doesn't affect the taste, but that way, it just peels right off, and you don't have hardly any crumb left on it at all. But anyhow, enough talk. There's the inside. See that filling on the inside? Oh, that tastes like a cinnamon roll. A really good cinnamon roll. Oh wow, this recipe was off the hook. Other than, I mean, the icing's good, don't get me wrong, it's just way too dense for me as far as being able to pipe it. It tastes just fine on it. It tastes just like icing that you would drizzle on the on your cinnamon roll. Yeah, that's really good. Sorry. I've been dying for something sweet all day. Give these a try. Let me know if you do. Leave a comment down below. You won't be disappointed in them. Let me know what you did different with the icing, or if you have an icing recipe you use on it. I wanted to see what it was like with that recipe. I personally just think it's way too dense. If I can't get it through the piping bag with, I don't want to say minimal effort, but I don't want to have to hurt myself to get it through the piping bag, then it's not, in my mind, a great recipe. So, but you may have different results. Next week, like I said, definitely leave me a comment down below, because you'll love the cupcake in and of itself. You could eat that almost on its own and be the hit of the parade. But anyhow, so next week, no idea what we're doing for dinner. No idea what we're doing for dessert. I've got a cake to make for a customer this week, and well, for next week, and I want to play around with a blueberry pie recipe, and we may do this blueberry pie. I know I've done one in the past, but this one's a little different. So, at work, we have been selling a pizza that's it's a hot honey pizza that is out of this world. The honey that goes on it is a chili infused honey that is out of this world. And I have got it stuck in my head that I need to make a pie involving this hot honey. So I'm going to do a blueberry pie up, and I'm going to replace some of the sugar with honey. If you didn't know, you can you can replace sugar with honey in equal parts in a lot of recipes. And what that's good for is, say you have somebody in your family that's a diabetic. They can't have sugar, or they may be limited to the amount of sugar they have, because my pie crust has sugar in it. Not a lot, a couple tablespoons, but it has sugar in it. But you can, instead of using a bunch of sugar in the filling, especially with fruit pies, you can replace it in equal parts with honey. I've done that for somebody before. and the pie turned out phenomenal. It does have a bit of a different flavor to it because you've got honey in it, but not enough to go, oh, that's horrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually a really good pie. So we may end up doing that next week. I haven't decided yet. But either way it goes, we are definitely going to do dinner. We are definitely going to do a dessert for that dinner. And yeah. So like I said, let me know down in the comments below or on Facebook if you try this recipe and if you do something different with the icing or something different with the cupcake. Let me know either way. So until next week, I love you. I love you very much. Tell somebody else you love them and you love them very much. Make them some of these cupcakes. They're going to go, oh my God, these are amazing, because they are. They're a great cupcake. And that'll lead to some endless conversation with some cupcakes and maybe a cup of coffee or whatever it is you like to drink. And, good times. So, till next week, I love you. I'll see you then. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.